afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing well on this lovely sunny non-day. So today's lesson is going to be the first of 5 on Wilfred Owen's poem Disabled. Alright, as usual, we're going to start with our word of the day. These are all word-based this week for obvious reasons. So today's word is genocide, which is a noun, and it is the deliberate killing of a large group of people, especially those from a particular nation or ethnic group. So an example in a sentence is, we are the future, we can prevent genocide if we choose to take a stand. And today's spelling word is patriotism. So remember, a patriot is someone who is obviously supports their country, and so that's obviously what patriotism is. They're supporting, enthusiasm for one's country. All the spelling words will be in a little spelling bee, which is in a couple of weeks' time. So if you want to take part, then all the words are on the Aim Higher Facebook page, so you can access that, try and improve your spelling, and just have a little bit of fun during lockdown. My usual cheesy pun of the day. We have a couple of items here belonging to Mr. Tunnock, and one of them says, "Just back from my holidays," and the other one says, "How long have you been away for?" Away for? Sorry. Right, so disabled. It was written in the time that Wilfred Owen was in Craiglockhart Hospital. I have done another slide on a presentation all about Wilfred Owen, so if you don't know much about him, have a wee look at the other video. He was being treated for shell shock, and he wrote this poem during his time in hospital, so he obviously got influenced or inspired by possibly a soldier who had been disfigured during the war. Alright, so if you think about the title disabled, to be disabled suggests that there is a physical or mental impairment of some kind, perhaps through an injury. You're incapacitated, it just suggests that the soldier, immediately we learn that the soldier has lost something or he's no longer able to do something. So we instantly get an image in our mind and we feel sympathy for him. So I'm just going to read stanza 1, and then obviously today's lesson we're focusing on all the techniques. We're going to do a close analysis of the stanza. He sat in a wheeled chair, waiting for dark, and shivered in his ghastly suit of grey, legless, sewn short at elbow. Through the park voices of boys rang, saddening like a hymn, voices of play and pleasure after day, till gathering sleep had mothered them from him. Alright, so the very first word of the poem is he. So he's never identified throughout the poem. We don't know who he is. He's just described as a man, a soldier. Throughout the poem, he doesn't have a name. So basically, because of that, he represents or symbolises all soldiers. He could be one of many. So he's a representative of that collective group. There's a sense of he's lost his identity because he's never given a name throughout it. So we just imagine him as an unknown figure in this chair. So going through the questions then. So on the Aim Higher page there are questions for you to work through before these lessons. If you haven't, then obviously this will just be a little bit of revision for you, which is just as handy. So question 1 is, how is the man's isolation conveyed throughout the first stanza? So there's a few ideas here. So immediately he's described as waiting for dark. So that suggests that he's got no one to distract him from this monotonous life. He's got nothing to fill his days. So basically he's pessimistic, he's helpless, hopeless. Each day he's just waiting for the night to come so that he can hide away, basically. Isolation is also displayed through the contrast between the voices of boys and play with the soldiers, which the soldier is very much detached from. That's obviously a sound outside that he's hearing. He's not part of that. So because of that, he describes the sound as being saddening to him. So that suggests that there's a clear contrast being conveyed here between the boy's happiness and play and his sad, empty life. And there's also an idea, it says that sleep had mothered him, which again adds to the idea of physical isolation, because only through sleep can he escape this horrible reality that he's now in. Question 2. The man sits in a wheeled chair. What do we instantly realise from this description? So it's not just a wheelchair, it's wheeled. So obviously you've added, the poet has deliberately added ed on, so that immediately tells us that he cannot wheel himself, which again immediately gives us the idea that he's lost his arms. Alright, so he can't move independently, he has to be wheeled by someone else. So there's a sense instantly of this, and that he's incapacitated, that he can't do it, he's helpless in that way. Question 3. The expression waiting for dark could imply more than one idea. What two things might this be? So I've split this into two. The phrase could be ambiguous, which means it's got two meanings. So usually when you talk about ambiguity, you say literal and metaphorical. So literally he's waiting for dark, as in he's sitting in his chair just waiting for nighttime to come so that he can be concealed, hidden away and comforted by the dark. Metaphorically speaking, you could also say that he's just waiting for the ultimate darkness to come, i.e. death, so that he can escape this life of pain and misery. Right, cheery poem this. Question 4. What is the effect of the alliteration used in ghastly suit of grey? So obviously G is a harsh sound in this respect. We've got ghastly, grey. So these words get our attention. So the sound suggests, because they're harsh and you have to say them g, g, it suggests the soldier's anger and bitterness at his current existence. Word choice of ghastly, obviously if you're doing a word choice question for the exam, you have to think about what the word means and what the connotations are. What does it suggest? So obviously it means something that's horrifying and appalling, so that could refer to his life. Basically his life as it once was is very much different to what it is now. Thinking closely about the colour grey, the colour grey has connotations of something dull and depressing. So again, that emphasises the general mood of the poem, certainly in this stanza, and it links to the idea of dark, which he's waiting for. So dark and grey are together to suggest that depressive tone. The colour grey also refers to ageing, so obviously your hair gets grey, not mine because I'm still young, and it highlights how he suddenly feels old, which is what he goes on to say later on in the poem. But he is still a young man, so it's nothing to do with that, but he feels like he's become old prematurely because of what's happened to him. There's just a sense as well that the grey, the darkness, all of that just creates that sense of loneliness and despair. So he's got nothing to look forward to in his life anymore, sadly. Question 5. What does sewn short at elbow tell us about the man's disability? So sewn short at elbow basically tells us that his arms are gone. So obviously they've been sewn short here. So he's an amputee. That's why he can't wheel himself on his own. And word choice of sewn. So usually you sew with a needle and thread. So that obviously we get the idea that perhaps when he was injured during battle, that it was just a quick case of get the arm off if it wasn't already off and let's sew this man up. So there's a sense of, it was a rush to save his life, that it's not been done professionally, meticulously. It was a case of let's sew him up so that he can survive the blood loss, etc. The word sewn also refers to objects, usually obviously a fabric you sew. So by suggesting that his body has been sewn, that suggests that he is an object. So by being objectified, that again suggests that he's no longer viewed as a real person in society, which goes back to the idea that he's lost his identity and who he once was. 6a. Discuss the effectiveness of the simile, voices of boys rang saddening like a hymn. So voices is repeated throughout this stanza. It's repeated twice at the start of the lines to emphasise the noise of the children playing. So obviously they're playing together. It's a plural, voices. So that suggests friendship and companionship, which creates a clear contrast with the soldier, who is very much alone and isolated. So that highlights his, isolation. And basically Owen is using sound here because the happy sound of the boys is used to highlight the soldier's sadness at this point and hearing that and longing for that. So there's a contrast between the boys and himself. It could also echo the fact that this was once the noise that he would make. You know, he was out playing, he had a lot of friends around him. So it's just a stark reminder of basically what he's lost. So there's a clear contrast there. And a reference to a hymn. So obviously a hymn is a religious song, so there's religious imagery going on here. That could suggest that he's thinking about God, thinking about religion, perhaps because of what's happened to him. He's questioning God because of the pain and suffering that he's now experiencing. A hymn is obviously a religious song that is sung. Quite often they are also sung at funerals. So this could also imply that he's thinking or longing for death to come. So it's just another reference to death. Sleep. So basically sleep in this stanza is really important. It's mentioned once or twice with also a reference to darkness and grey, which is obviously dark night, you know, the light that we get. So sleep is the soldier's only escape or respite at this point. He longs for it throughout the day, which just gives us a sense of sympathy because he's got nothing to live for. That's what he feels now. He's protected from the sound of the boys, you know, the vision or the sound of other people's happiness. He's protected from that when he sleeps. So it just shows that he's very much, you know, alienated and ostracised from the rest of society. He's very much on his own. No longer feels part of society. 7. What are the connotations of the word mothered? So obviously it says that sleep mothered him. So the word choice suggests that he is now dependent and childlike. Obviously little kids need their mums for survival. That emphasises here that he has also become quite childlike. He's lost any sense of physical strength and masculinity that he once had, and that obviously is described later on when his physicality is described and how active he was. Now he's become reliant on other people, which he's frustrated and upset about. Thinking mothers have a caring role, so unlike before where the women were very much attracted to him and he talked about different women being in his life and being lovers, now the role of women has definitely reversed, and he now knows that the role of woman in his life will forevermore be as a carer rather than, you know, as a partner. What is the connection between this word and sleep? So just like a mother having a caring role, so does sleep. So sleep takes care of him. So it's personified here, and again it suggests that just as a mother would give you comfort and offer you relief of some sort, that sleep is doing the same to him here. So it just suggests that this life of misery that he now has, he can escape it through sleep, as I've said already. So just a couple other pointers. The first stanza looks at, focuses on, the pathetic image of the soldier. So immediately the reader gets a sense of pity and sympathy in him. Even from the title, as I've said, we get the idea that the soldier is wishing that his life would end and that he's already half dead, which is a reference to the darkness and the grey and everything being doom and gloom. There may be a reference there to what life is like in the afterlife, so maybe that's where he can escape and dream by picturing that, you know, the eternal escape in the afterlife because he's so miserable in reality. Alright, so that's stanza 1 done. Tomorrow we're going to look at stanza 2 and therefore and therefore and therefore. All week we'll be looking at a different stanza, so hopefully that will help you when you're doing your note taking or annotating your poem. On Friday morning I'm going to do a little lesson about how to annotate poetry, so hopefully you'll be able to do that yourself and that you'll be able to use the notes and the discussions that I'm giving you to help you do that. Alright, so stanza 2 tomorrow. If you haven't done so, please like and share and subscribe on my Facebook Aim Higher page and also on the YouTube channel Aim Higher. If you're not on Facebook, then these are the links to the Google Classroom, so you can sign up. All the resources are there and a blank copy of the poem with the questions as well if you haven't already done so. I'm doing these for free, but if you'd like to say thanks if I've helped you, then there's my little PayPal address where you can send me a little cup of tea. Just send me £1 or £2. That would be amazeballs. Thank you so much. Have a fab day, everyone. Alexa, play.